Hello. I wanted to do this video about Gonzalo Lira. Now, Gonzalo Lira was allegedly released by the SBU again for the second time and put up a dramatic video of him trying to get into Hungary, having crossed Ukraine with his motorcycle in order to escape further imprisonment and what he believed to be 10 to 15 years in a labour camp or something for simply for telling the truth. Now, this has sparked rather a massive chasm, to be honest, amongst the kind of geopolitical commentators online. Some people are saying that he's a grifter, that this is evidence of that, and the others are saying that he's, a truth seeker, yada, yada, yada. So I just want to kind of weigh in with my perspective on this, okay? Now, just to be clear, Gonzalo Lira is not somebody who I would ever really give much time of day to, in that he is a misogynist who has made a lot of money from the incel movement of the kind of naughties. He had a huge social media following where he told young men that, to get women they had to trick them, and how to fool women into thinking you're an alpha and all this weird stuff, which, to be honest with you, is quite anti what I stand for and who I am. And I'm pretty sure he would say the same thing about me. I've always found myself in relationships with people, whether sexual or otherwise, based on how we get on, based on our minds rather than how we look. And that, to someone like Gonzalo, it's just not possible. I've often thought that men like him are essentially trying to pin their lack of charm, frankly, when it comes to women, on the fact that they're not, top tier looking. But in actual fact, it's probably just because they're not very nice. Okay. Anyway, so that's kind of how I feel about him in the past. I believe he's been arrested a few times and banned from speaking and such things for his misogyny. And yeah, he's been held up when things have happened, like, the STEM women's college being attacked and things like that. It's men like him that have been held up as reasons why these young men have found themselves in a position where they believe they are entitled to go as far as to take the lives of a woman because they feel like they can't get laid. That's been his niche for a long time. That began to kind of wane, and then he started doing a bit of geopolitical stuff, talking about the fall of the dollar, X, Y, and Z, and finally he landed on Ukraine, and there he found a lucrative way of rebuilding his online platform and getting money from his media commentary, his sociological commentary, I would call it. Now, a lot of people say that this understanding of his past shows that he's just a grifter, that he's just in it for money, blah, blah, blah. I actually don't see that in him at all. I think he's very clearly someone who, when he believes in something, whether it's the same thing I believe or not, he will go and throw himself into that with full gusto. And that is essentially what Gonzalo has done in Ukraine. He hasn't just decided to commentate on the war. He has decided to go to Ukraine and commentate from the ground. He is now in his 50s, but, I will say he still acts and dresses like he's in his 20s, which is always unbecoming. But anyway, he's gone out on the streets. He's done videos, vlogs, etc., interviews from Ukraine about what's happening in Ukraine. And I think after his first arrest, people were a bit confused by this. And I feel like after his second arrest, he's tried to explain how he's got away with it, in that he said that he's got a lot of money and therefore he's been extorted by Ukrainians for money. And that's essentially why he's been able to sort of get away in the way that he has. You have to remember that the SBU is proud of the fact that it's murdered journalists, proud of the fact that it's locked up young European journalists from France, from Spain, never to be seen or heard of again, no court date in sight. And yet Gonzalo has been arrested twice now and released twice now, both with impending court dates, I believe. One quashed, and who knows what's happening with the second one, because obviously he's not been heard of again. Now, he's done this dramatic video on the border. He's put up a number of tweets, and he said, yep, I'm this, painting himself as this hero that's escaping Ukraine and escaping the SBU. He's been tortured, he's been harmed, he's this freedom fighter, he's this hero, he's writing a book, kept mentioning his book. And again, people who don't agree that he is 100% honest use that as an example to show that he is lying and that he's trying to rebrand himself as a hero. Well, that's half true. He doesn't actually have to be lying to do that. He can just be Gonzalo. Gonzalo, if he's ever been arrested, if he's ever had media issues, if he's ever been banned from speaking at a school or whatever, Gonzalo is there doing newspaper interviews, pushing it out there, showing how oppressed he is for speaking his mind. That is a massive part of his image. So I absolutely see that he's come out and one of the first things he's wanted to talk about is his new book, because that's Gonzalo. That's what he does. That's how he promotes himself. And let's be fair, it's obviously worked very well for him. Now, one thing that I don't quite understand is how somebody who was living in obviously quite a small, dank flat, I cannot see how Gonzalo on any level has the amount of money that would be necessary to buy his way out of the SBU's grips. However, he is an American citizen, so that will probably work in his favour, that the SBU will be far more likely to better treat an American citizen than they are any other, because they need America to keep feeding them money. And that may well have given him the angle in order to communicate enough to get a little bit of an easier ride or be released on bail, which is what he's saying has happened. He's provided court documentation. Now, you can look at this in a number of ways, but the two main ones seem to be, one, that you think he's an SBU asset, two, that he is telling the truth. I don't actually think either of them are completely true. I think that it's probably something in the middle. I think that he's very clearly someone who manipulates truth to promote himself, but he's also obviously not well involved in this enough or important enough to have the SBU providing him with fake court documents or lying about arresting him or any of the other stuff. So what it comes down to is, Gonzalo Lira, what can he offer the SBU? Well, Scott Ritter says that he has online platforms where people say anti-Ukrainian stuff, and that will be of interest to the SBU. Maybe it would have if Telegram didn't exist and you didn't have literal hundreds of thousands of subscribers to various geopolitical platforms who do exactly that all day, every day. I mean, it's hardly needed. Okay, there's nothing new here. What Gonzalo was doing was not groundbreaking. He was the same as many others. Secondly, I don't believe that anything that he's done is worth him being locked up for or him being able to flee a country. And I think that it's really important that we stick to the reality here. This is whether you like him or not, a geopolitical commentator who has been arrested simply for geopolitical commentary. And I think we all need to make sure that we stick to that, because if we get into whether he was nice or not, that is falling into the same propaganda trap that tells us some people are worthy of respect and kindness and other people are not. And that's something I think we all suffer from. So, do I like Gonzalo? No. Do I think that he's 100% truth-telling? No. Do I think he deserves to be in a Ukrainian prison? No. Do I think he deserves safe refuge to a safe country? Yes. It is vital that he comes home. And that is the main point that we all need to focus on here.